Hello there guys, and welcome to another video from Nerd Kingdom. I apologise for the delay in videos. I've been really busy recently trying to start a new course with all the lockdown and the disease that should not be named. It's been a bit of a nightmare, but I am back. I've got a couple of videos lined up. Next Sunday I plan on putting up a video of running through and my tips on what I've seen so far from the Rime of the Frost Maiden, so that is something to look forward to. I want to apologise quickly. You may hear some banging and bumping about and some shouting outside. We've got some builders in the area at the moment that are just being as loud as possible, and I've tried recording this video a few times, and every single time there's been some sort of loud bang or something like that, so I'm just going to have to push through it, so hopefully there's nothing too distracting. So today I thought I would talk to you guys about running high-level campaigns. There are loads of tips on YouTube. I've done my fair share of them as well, of videos giving new DMs some tips and some tricks. But what if you've been running a campaign for a long period of time? It seems like high-level campaigns and high-level play is not really supported in 5th edition. I mean, how many pre-made adventures actually go all the way up to 20th level? Very few. So I thought today I would make a video on a couple of hints and a couple of tips for those DMs who are running or about to be running some high-level D&D content. So why is running high-level D&D such an issue, such a pain for DMs? Well, the simple answer to that is that the balance in the game just goes completely out of the window. You have powerful characters with powerful items, and very few things are fresh and challenging for your players. You see, you don't want to limit progression, you don't want to stop your players from reaching these high levels, and you also don't want to limit or restrict magic items, because that's the kind of thing that keeps your players coming back to the table week after week. So what do you do to challenge your players who are now practically demigods in your world? Well, you need powerful enemies for a start. If we look at the book Rise of Tiamat, you can see that Tiamat in there is a challenge rating 30 creature. She has a ton of legendary actions, some really powerful abilities. She is a scary creature for even a 20th level character to go up against. In addition to that, we also have now got some rules on making mythic creatures, basically creatures that have 2 health bars. This is great. These are useful techniques, and these kinds of creatures should be used just to make your normal adventures feel interesting. They don't have to be your big bad evil guy. They can just be the boss at the end of a dungeon, something big and scary and powerful, a high challenge rating creature, or a creature that has a mythic status. A general tip I have for you here is to give enemies more reactions so that they can react on other people's turns, more bonus actions, and more legendary actions. Even if it's not a legendary creature, maybe consider giving it 1 or 2 legendary actions so that it can continue to act and respond to your players' high level shenanigans. If you guys really fancy stirring the cauldron on this one, then I recommend not using hit points to track the creature's health. Use hit points to track a creature's abilities and when they become disabled. For example, every time this creature takes 75 hit points of damage, they lose an ability. They're no longer able to use every action in their multi-attack. They can't cast certain spells of a certain level. However, they are killed when they take 3 or 5 critical wounds. Basically, when a player rolls a critical hit, a natural 20 on the dice to damage them, that is when they take a critical wound. This completely shakes up the whole system. It completely changes things for your players and is a really interesting way of mixing up high-level combat. So consider implementing something like that. Another tip I have is using smart encounters. You can take a creature that is a challenge rating of 15 and you can put them into a situation that makes that encounter a very, very difficult high-level encounter. For example, according to the lore of D&D, beholders are these mad geniuses, coming up with hundreds if not thousands of escape plans and basically tactical battle plans for every situation. So use your meta knowledge, use your improv skills that you've developed throughout the course of the campaign to improvise traps to mess with your party. All of a sudden the beholder misses with his telekinetic ray and it hits the ceiling and brings down an avalanche of rocks. It wasn't a miss at all. He wasn't aiming for the player. You can do all sorts of these crazy little things and just throw that into your combat to make a very average combat really intense and difficult and fun. The final tip I have in regards to combat and high level combat is consider giving your big bad evil guy a blank slate ability. Now, a blank slate ability is something that is going to stop every ongoing spell and effect that is targeting both your players and the big bad evil guy. Too many times has a big bad evil guy been stopped in D&D because they have been hit by a spell that just nullifies them and renders them absolutely useless. So give them a blank slate ability, something to stop every effect, and that's including the ones on your players. Another reason that I find that high level play tends to be kind of not as fun as lower level play is because of the limited exploration due to spells like teleportation. It's really difficult for a DM to flesh out certain areas if your players are just teleporting all over the map. It's really difficult to come up with really interesting and useful places for your players to explore and to delve into. So I have a recommendation for you. When you get into high level play, introduce new settings, somewhere like the Feywild or something really interesting and cool like the Realms of Terror, things like that. These settings can have force cage-like abilities that stop players from just teleporting out of them. You can introduce weapons for your NPCs, such as dimeritium blades that stop magic from working if this blade is stabbed into your party wizard. You can also have things like anti-magic mists or anti-magic storms that are just a local thing in this area that means that when a party is teleported into this place, they cannot then teleport out of it, and they're sort of stuck in this area and forced to explore these localized places that as a DM you fleshed out and made interesting. And the final thing that I find suffers with high level play is of course the roleplay. When your party get to a high enough level, they tend to get a little bit cocky, and I think that's fair to say. I mean, you are a 20th level character, you're walking around and you are aware that in this city and in this town there is very few creatures that can stop you from doing whatever you want to do, and that's fine, you've earned that. As a player, your players have worked through the campaign, they've earned that right. However, it tends to make them a little bit complacent when it comes to role-playing. They tend to feel it's less important as they get to those higher levels because they can just rely on their brute strength, whereas previously they had to rely on their political and social ability to commune with allies. So, I recommend giving them world-ending encounters that they cannot solve alone or with brute force. They have to use their roleplay. Things like a war that the players alone cannot win. So they have to barter for peace. And if you guys are looking for an adventure that kind of has something similar, I recommend looking at the Red Hand of Doom from 3rd edition, I believe. And a final thing that I recommend possibly throwing into your campaign is something like sanity. Now, the DMG actually has a section on introducing sanity as an additional ability score. It can be really interesting to watch a player who is very confident and runs first into battle all of a sudden reduced to a gibbering mound on the floor, and having your players have to roleplay that, them being basically terrified by this creature that they've never seen before. Ultimately, guys, my biggest tip for you is enjoy high level play. High level play is a part of D&D, and it does require a lot of work. It does require rejigging things around and kind of reevaluating your priorities, and in some cases, yes, it requires using some absolutely BS techniques to get your players into the situations you want them to be in. But look, if you're a player watching this, be kind to your DM. It's really difficult to run high level games, and if you're a DM watching this, don't sweat it, enjoy it. Try and use some of these techniques, and if you've got any techniques of your own that you've used and that work, please put them in the comment section below. I'd be really excited to hear what you think. I'm really excited about opening up a discourse here to discuss what you guys think is a great technique to use for high level gameplay in D&D. Well guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you as well to all of the new subscribers. Even though I haven't been submitting videos or uploading videos very recently, we've still managed to continue to grow this channel, and I really appreciate the support. Thank you to everyone that's watching this. If you like this content, please consider subscribing, consider hitting that like button, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye bye.